Good morning.
Good morning. Today is September 28th, 2025, and our topic this morning is pregnant with possibility. And uh, Bob chose that topic. He thought it
That's
was
right, because
perfect.
because I've never had a baby. I have no idea what it's really like. I understand it's a lot like having like a headache, just a mild, like you feel it for a couple of minutes and then there's the baby. Yeah.
But it's a perfect title, especially for when I first came into this teaching. It was so wonderful for me to experience a church service that was nothing but positive things and all about possibilities and how it is natural for us to create our dreams come true and the way that that unfolds we call it the science of mind, but it was so empowering to me and still is. But at the time, I had just never heard of the things that Ernest Holmes taught. And he wasn't the first one. It was part of a movement called New Thought. And Unity was a church that was quite a bit older and taught this affirmative prayer work. And yet, Ernest Holmes kind of really defined it step by step in a way that was very helpful for many people. So, our talk today about pregnant with possibility is how so many of our dreams are possible, and we don't have to know how exactly they will unfold. We just need to know the what and know the power that does it is the spiritual power that we're a part of. So I wanted to start with revealing a word. It's actually a Sanskrit word, which is the ancient Indian language. And the word is asha. And asha means hope or expectation. But in the spiritual sense, it conveys trust in the unfolding of cosmic order. In Hindu and Buddhist texts, asha is more than wishful thinking. It's a disciplined orientation of the heart toward renewal, a confidence that life is ever generative and spirit is guiding the way forward. So, with our preparing for this, we thought a lot about the word hope. And hope for many is a very positive emotion, I'd like to call it. Because even when things are bad, we have hope that things can be better, even if we don't know how. And I think that's a natural human trait.
I think it's really the emotional sound. It's a soundtrack for creativity, the emotional soundtrack for creativity. With that, with that music, with that sound in our heart, we feel emboldened to move forward when it may seem to others and even logically to ourselves that we have embarked on an impossible task.
Yes, exactly. And Ernest Holmes, and this was very motivating to me. Ernest Holmes dismissed hope as a subtle illusion, a compromise with doubt. In other words, often when you hope for something, you would like for it to happen, but you don't have much hope.
Well, and
Don't really expect it.
what Earhart said, which I think was good, is hope has no value if hope is something you have without a plan or without a course of action.
Right. But what was very motivating to me is Ernest Holmes said, you just have to know the what
That's the
of
piece.
your desire,
Right.
not the how. You
Exactly.
don't you allow spirit to unfold and the power of mind, which with the word mind, we're really referring to the mind of God, which we are all a part of. And so when we say mind with a capital M, we're referring to the mind of God we're all part of, and that it's always working for us.
The divine creator.
So Ernest Holmes again urged us to bypass hope and move straight to faith because he said the conviction that spirit is present and creating through us right now. And so it's not a bad thing. The Apostle Paul put hope in good company when he listed faith, hope, and love. as great spiritual virtues. And yet, in this teaching, we take it a step further to, again, knowing that we're always creating. We are creative beings, and we're created with our thoughts first, and then our actions. We call it, we have a saying that I always use because it's so explicit. We say treat, which is spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer. Do affirmative prayer or treat and move your feet
Mhm.
in the direction that you want to go in. You may not know exactly how far to step, how fast to step, but you move in that direction.
And there's where hope really has a vital role. You then can turn it over to the unknown and the unseen and the unknowable that knows exactly how to get you to your destination. If I'm going to drive from here to California, I can't know everything I need to know to get there. I can hope and make sure that my gas tank is full. And if the gas tank is full and I know how to drive, the driving will somehow manage all of this and take care of. So we don't have to fill in all the blanks. The thing I like most about hope is that you don't have to fill in all the blanks. And what we often do is we want something, we say yes to it, we allow it to be a thing bigger than ourselves, and then we begin making it small by trying to figure it all out. And the more detail we figure, the more we're locked into our figuring rather than the possibility of a grander, greater thing occurring.
Exactly. One of the first areas that I was most motivated to change in my life was the health of my then 3-year-old son, who had been very unhealthy for a couple of years. As a matter of fact, I think I counted the hospitalizations at up to 6.
Mm.
And I worried about him all the time. We both did. My husband and I both worried about him all the time and had begun thinking of him as a sickly child, which, guess what, made him believe that about himself. And so this teaching was so empowering to me that I could know him as a healthy child, talk to him as if he were a healthy child, tell him that he had the power to send away any illnesses. And within a year of this practice, my taking classes, talking to him in a different way, he became totally well and quit having to go to doctors.
I love that you used to tell him, you told me, I wasn't there. I'm the second husband. But I love that you would tell him that he was a fast healer.
That's right.
And that was it didn't mean there wasn't an injury, but it meant the injury wasn't permanent. It meant that,
Well, for him, it wasn't injuries, it was sickness.
well, I mean, any kind of internal or
Yeah.
external or whatever, when we say you're a fast healer, we mean that somehow with words we don't have, healing takes place.
That's right. And I would tell him, I would affirm that he's a strong, healthy boy. And whenever he did get sick, I'd tell him to send it away. And the wonderful thing about 3-year-olds is they believe everything their mother says.
If only we did. If only we said, I'm a fast healer, and with what's happening with our healthcare insurance, that's a really important thing to know.
Yeah, but I didn't know how. I knew what I wanted. I didn't know how to do it. And it was so nice to think that we could be pregnant with possibility without knowing the way. So that's been very empowering to me to focus on what I want to experience or be or do or have. Just know the what and know that spirit is helping me create that through my affirmative expectation. So it's very powerful. We can have hope, but we need to add expectation to that hope, I think, to really empower it. So some of you may know about this affirmative prayer and how it works, and some of you may not. So I would like to review that we have certain steps that we use that are helpful. And we taught these steps to children. As a matter of fact, my son was 4 years old, and in the Sunday school class, when his teacher asked me if I had taught him how to do the steps of affirmative prayer, And I said, no, he's too young. And he said, oh, no, he's not. And and so we taught him how to do it too. And so with children, we had this hand that we used with 5 steps. And these steps were, well, we abbreviated, but the first step is God is the power. The second step is I'm part of that. And so we would abbreviate to God is I am. The next step is the what you're desiring. And desire to me, desire meant of the Father, de meaning of, and sire. I made that up, but I liked it. That desires were good, not evil. As sometimes we've been taught in our Christian religion that you shouldn't want too much or you shouldn't want good things. So the third step is I want. The next step is thank you, and the last step is your release. So we would call it God is, I am, I want, thanks, over and out. And and that simplifies it from the big words because we have big words for all those steps.
But that is so powerful when you think about it. When you think about how often in our daily living we stop at a number I want, and then
But I can't
I
have.
can't have it,
I can't figure out how.
or I want thank you, but I got to go back and tell you I want it again. I got to repeat myself. I've got to figure it out. And the
Yeah.
releasing piece is to let it go and not dwell on it, not try to construct it. We very often want something, turn it over, and then get it back and try to figure it out. And it's an important thing to release it and let it go.
Yeah, and in this tree to move your feet, a perfect example is let's say you're praying for affirmative prayer, treating for a new job. So if you're treating for a new job, you don't sit in your living room easy chair and wait for a new job to come to
Right.
you. You start going through the used to be help wanted ads. Now it's
Indeed.
go through Indeed and look for who's hiring and what they want and apply. You don't so that's the move your feet part. Move in the direction, move in any ways you know that you can to have this created. But in a couple of things that were we call them demonstrations when we get results. Um, I started actually writing down in a little black book everything I was praying for. And the wonderful part about this exercise was when I achieved that, I would put the date on it. And some of the things occurred very rapidly. Some of them took 6 years. And it's not up to me to know how long it will take. But it was quite an exercise to think that all of my affirmative prayers could be underway. It was very exciting and I had many demonstrations that proved it. I thought, oh, this is so much better than what I did all my life, which was to beg God to please give me what I wanted. And what they weren't selfish things or anything. I was praying for my mother's health and things like that, but nothing ever. I never don't think I ever had a prayer come true in that form. And so this was really so exciting to me. And that's why it's called a science, in that there are steps that you can use, and there are truths that you can learn. And when we say science of mind, you are using your mind, but really it's referring to the mind of God that we're all part of.
Yeah, I was thinking of the pregnancy as a metaphor and thinking that in a perfect world, and we don't live necessarily in a perfect world, but in a perfect world, to create a child is one, to make a decision, two, to become,
Sometimes
yeah,
not.
that's what I said in a perfect world
Okay.
is to make a decision, to become vulnerable, and to recognize that it's a partnership. That is, the seed without the egg cannot create. And so we have to keep realizing that we are creating with creation, with something larger than ourselves. And so we're a part of that. So the seed, once delivered, And once the egg accepts it and fertilizes it, we can walk away, but not entirely. That is, the process itself continues and we need to support it. We need to make room for it. And so I think all of the things about becoming pregnant with a person are true with being pregnant with a creative idea. How do we fertilize it? How do we take care of it? How do we nurture it? Do we make room for it? All of those things assume that once we've started the process, that it's going to work. And we allow that. Now, that doesn't also mean that there won't be discomfort, that there won't be changes in everything from the way you get up in the morning to the way you go to bed at night and what you eat. Everything is affected with the creative process, but it's in favor of creating. And so we need to look at when we say yes to something, have we made room for it? Have we truly wanted it and desired it to the point where we're actually going to allow it to fully develop? A lot of us, I think, will have an idea and we love living on the idea, but we don't actually plan on having the substance of the idea be realized. And so having the substance be realized means moving in the direction, knowing with hope that it's possible, will occur, and we're making room for it. And I think that's those steps are just, it's such a beautiful process. And it's a beautiful process to realize that we're always in partnership with the divine.
Yeah, it's wonderful to know that we're really never on our own or are never alone. And it's a wonderful practice. I was taught to do this in that first year. Our minister at the time said that everyone should be meditating. Well, I had no idea how to meditate. And he said, get up first thing in the morning and meditate. And he said, and don't go get that cup of coffee and have a cigarette before as you meditate or before you meditate. And I thought that was funny because that's probably just what I would have done at the time.
And you're now a non-smoker. Right?
Yes.
It have been for
many
50
years,
yeah.
many years. Yeah. So, but I had to be told that. So I did learn to just wake up and go sit in my meditation area. And it's amazing the joy and peace you find just with the intention to connect with God, to connect with the divine and all that is. And, uh, you know, a lot of people say they can't sit still for 3 minutes, much less, 10 minutes or whatever. And that's one reason why doing it first thing in the morning is helpful because you haven't really woken up yet. And that's a good thing. I remember reading in a book once that we're closest to the divine first thing in the morning. And that's because we haven't really woken up yet. And that little bit of sleepiness is really helpful for you.
Well, we haven't awakened to our task and our to-do list and to the reality that we believe in more than the reality of who we are. And who we are is bigger than the things we need to do or the things that need to be accomplished. And we often forget that. We wake up in the morning and the biggest thing in the world is whatever we got to do next.
Oh, that to-do list. It's a real whip cracker. What is on my to-do list today? Yes, that one runs me. Uh, but so so this, I just think it's so exciting to think in your life. And as we get older, we tend to get a little more jaded and expect less and think that possibilities are not still available for us. They are. They often are in new creative ways, but those are exciting too. Bob and I are both doing some writing now that Bob's been doing it all along, but he's putting it together now in new ways that are very exciting. And I'm starting to write a memoir, and so this is a new adventure, and it's fun to have exciting new things that we're doing and creating, and still being pregnant with possibility, even when most people are just thinking, how can I slow down and retire?
Right.
So
I think of Robert Redford, who recently just left this world and to continue on his directing and acting in the next world. But he didn't have it. There was no day when he wasn't in the process of creating. And so even up until his last day, he was of already working on what is he going to do next, where is he going to go next, and why wouldn't we do that? But putting yourself on hold or stopping being who you are is another way of telling the universe you're done. And so I think for retirement, for some people, that means I'm retiring from life and now I'm going to go to God's waiting room. And we don't want to do that. We want to continue to realize that no matter what we've done, there's more here for us to do, and we are invited to do it. And we're not invited by past failures to give up. We're invited to learn from those past failures to move forward.
Exactly. And so this it can be a very exciting time. It
It
is
is.
for us, and it is for all of you. You have so many more possibilities ahead of you, and if you can enjoy that possibility and how much there is for you, it's very exciting. And this meditation thing, I've got to go back to that. That can be your best time of the day. You know, it and it brings you such bliss in hardship times when you lose
Mhm.
someone you love. That way of connecting with your source, or all that is a way of letting you know that your loved ones are still very much alive and there, and uh, life is eternal. Life is eternal.
Some time ago, I was walking through the airport, and there was a certain amount of noise in the airport. The most interesting thing to me was how I didn't notice the noise, but I was affected by it. And I didn't notice that I was being affected by it until I put on my headphones and turned on the noise cancellation. And when I turned on the noise cancellation, I was suddenly at the airport. I was actually experiencing the airport, not the noise. And so meditation is a kind of noise cancellation. It's a way to cancel, and you need to be able to do that. You need to be able to turn on the noise cancellation, because what happens is it affects us and slows us and interferes with us to the point where we just want to get from A to B rather than enjoy the journey. And so there's a lot of noise right now in the world. There's a lot of noise politically, there's a lot of noise socially, there's a lot of noise economically. And if we're not careful, we find ourselves giving in to just listening to the noise. And when you talk about meditation, it's a cosmic cancellation device. And what it does is it allows us to focus in on or to tune into the real us, the true us, the experience that we can have with us.
So what I'd like to ask all of you to do is get a pad of paper and write down everything you would like to experience, to be, to do, or to have, as if it were possible. You know, be pregnant with possibility. Uh, you don't have to know the how.
Mhm.
All you have to know is the what. And write it down. Start a little book, and know that you're not doing this alone. Opportunities open up to you when you tell God what you want to experience. Suddenly, opportunities show up, and it's an amazing thing. It's
I ask some of the people that I'm working with to do a similar thing. I said, write down if I had all of the money, all of the time, and all of the health that I require and desire, what would I do? And I think without realizing it, we very often forget. We rule out. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough health. And if we would say to ourselves, and with winning the lottery, if I had $10 million, I were totally healthy and had no limitations, and I had as much time as I need, but what I do. And I don't know how much of that you can do, but I know that none of it will get done until you have it in mind.
a good point. Good point. Yeah. And it's just so much more exciting. We tend to focus on our limitations and what reasons why it can't happen, and do not allow for the power of the universe to come forth for us.
I was thinking of that the other day when I was a couple Sundays ago. I was looking at what didn't look like much of a house that a person who lost her home had acquired. And I say it didn't look like much of a house because in many ways it was a shell of a house, and she had had a house. So she moved from a house to no house to the shell of a house. And I've been watching each week as the shell becomes a house, as it becomes a home. And it's really interesting to me to see that this is a person who I think felt that her resources were completely gone, had no hope of having any of those resources come back, and is now living in a house that is becoming a home, that has become a home for her, really. And she's even found a way to have her pets or her animals with her in this home. And so it's going from from loss, impossible, to possible, to yes, I can have this and more. And I'm interested in seeing as the weeks unfold how this house becomes a bigger or better house, but more importantly, it has become a home. Are we at home with our efforts to create a space for our lives and live in it?
Indeed. And so, with that, we'd like to do a screen share to invite you to.
You know, we have recently lost some people in our organization or in our center here, which is a big loss, and we really miss the people that we have lost because of the conditions that they've had to go through, especially dying. But we've also lost some of the support that we really need in order to be able to continue. So if you are thinking that you could support us financially and haven't been doing that or forgotten to do that, this is an invitation to continue, and we do appreciate it.
And I recently found, it's like we had 100 views because we post our talks on
YouTube, yeah.
YouTube and also on Facebook. And I was told that we had 100 views of our talk. And that's wonderful. That's so exciting. But none of those people support us financially. And I'm talking about the church when I say us, because we have expenses for running a church, even though we're not meeting in person. So we invite you to share what feels good. We want you to give till it feels good. And so we say this affirmation because we believe in it. We believe that as you give, you do receive. And if you want more financial good, give more financial good. Give where it feels good. So let's say this affirmation. We're affirming that my investment today is made with a full realization that God is the source of my supply and returns it to me enriched and multiplied. And so it is.
And we're going to end here.